If you've ever looked into getting yourself a gravel bike, you probably realize pretty quickly that no two look or ride the same. Some are built for speed and performance, and others for exploration and endurance. And while they all fall under the gravel umbrella, choosing the right one can feel like picking between two entirely different sports. Today, we'll be looking at and comparing two excellent yet very different bikes, starting with the 3T Primo, a no-compromise gravel race bike, and the Mazzi Giramondo, a fully outfitted adventure bike designed to go the distance. We'll walk through each bike's frame design, component choices, and real-world ride characteristics. And by the end, you'll have a much better sense of which type of gravel bike makes the most sense for you. Let's go ahead and start with an often overlooked but super important detail to consider: frame material. The 3T Primo is made from what many might consider to be the ultimate material for bicycle frame construction, and that is carbon fiber. Since carbon can be molded into just about any form, the engineers can precisely manipulate the tubing to improve everything from ride quality to aerodynamics. Speaking of aerodynamics, this is something 3T is particularly known for, and the flattened sections on the down tube and seat post, hidden cable routing, and narrow fork legs help the Primo slice through the wind. But it's not all fancy shapes. The bike's carbon construction also adds to its super low weight. That makes every pedal stroke feel like it's instantly turned into forward momentum, which is exactly what you want in a race bike. But let's be real, the Primo looks fast when it's standing still, which is once again thanks to those aerodynamic tube shapes and sleek, weld-free construction. By contrast, the Mazzi Giramondo is built out of heat-treated steel tubing. This classic material has long been favored by touring cyclists and bikepackers for a few key reasons. First, steel is incredibly durable and resistant to wear. It's not uncommon to see 30-plus-year-old steel bikes that are still just as structurally sound as when they rolled off the factory floor. Steel also has a naturally damped ride quality. This means that it absorbs vibrations and softens harsh impacts in a way that carbon doesn't, something that's especially important when riding rugged gravel roads or spending long days in the saddle. While the Giramondo isn't as flashy as the Primo, many people, including myself, feel that steel brings a bit of a retro charm. The tubing is round, the welds are visible, and the whole thing has a forever bike feel that stands in contrast to carbon's cutting-edge race vibes. So that's frame material covered for you, but frankly, there's a ton about the frame that actually differentiates these two bikes. Starting with the 3T Primo, it's sleek and smooth with very limited mounting options for frame bags or water bottles. This frame's geometry, or in other words, the measurements that dictate how it rides and handles, is super aggressive. It has a long reach, low stack height, and a short wheelbase, putting the rider in a forward, tucked position. This makes it incredibly responsive and efficient, as well as more aerodynamic. But it also requires a bit more core engagement and bike handling skills, especially when the road turns rough. Meanwhile, the Mazzi Giramondo goes in the complete opposite direction when it comes to frame design. Instead of clean lines and aero tubing, it features mounts, and lots of them. This makes it one of the most adaptable gravel bikes on the market, capable of transforming into a fully loaded touring setup or simple city commuter. The cable routing is also all external, making it easy to work on in a pinch. The geometry here is much more relaxed, with a taller front end, longer chainstays, and a slacker head angle. That translates into a comfortable riding position, leading to easier bike handling and increased visibility. So hopefully by this point, it's becoming clear that these bikes and their frame design are more than just cosmetically different. It really changes the whole ride, feel, and function in the world. The Primo is about minimizing resistance and maximizing speed, even if it means sacrificing versatility. The Giramondo, on the other hand, is all about utility, comfort, and self-sufficiency. But of course, there's so much more to a bike than just its frame, so let's talk about the components of each bike. The 3T Primo comes spec'd with a Shimano GRX 1x12 drivetrain, one of the most race-ready gravel group sets available today. It's lightweight, has a clutch-equipped rear derailleur to keep the chain tight, and features wide-range gearing for a mix of climbing ability and top-end speed. The 1x setup keeps things simple and eliminates the front derailleur, which means fewer moving parts and less to worry about mid-race. The rest of the build follows suit. Fast rolling tires, lightweight tubeless ready alloy wheels, and a cockpit that prioritizes aero efficiency over adjustability. In contrast, the Giramondo is meant to keep going no matter what, even if it sacrifices a bit of efficiency. It comes with a triple crankset up front and a 10-speed cassette out back, offering an enormous gear range that makes climbing with a full load much easier. Shifting is handled by bar-end shifters, which might feel old school, but are actually incredibly reliable and easy to fix or adjust on the fly. The brakes are mechanical disc brakes. Again, not as high performance as the Primo's hydraulic system, but much easier to maintain in remote areas. And then there are the accessories. The Mozzie comes with a front and rear rack, meaning you can load it down with everything you need for a self-supported bikepacking trip or a run to the grocery store. In short, the components on the 3T Primo have been chosen because they're light and fast, even if that means adding complication and cost. The Giramondo, on the other hand, is built for the long game. And with the right care, this could be the bike your grandkids are riding 30 years from now. Speaking of riding, let's move on to the fun part and talk about how both of these bikes feel out in the real world. I've been fortunate enough to spend a good bit of time on both of these bikes for the last couple days, and while they deliver very different sensations, they're both equally fun to ride. The 3T Primo feels quick and aggressive. Its snappy acceleration really comes alive on steep, punchy climbs, but it's still surprisingly capable and comfortable on high-speed fire roads and smooth, single-track trails. But when the terrain gets loose, bumpy, or technical, that race-focused geometry and stiff frame can become a bit of a liability. The bike demands your full attention, and on long, rough rides, you may feel the fatigue more acutely than you would on a more forgiving frame. As you might imagine, the Giramondo is a little bit more laid back, both figuratively and literally. It has a calm, grounded feel, even when fully loaded with gear. This comes from both the relaxed, upright geometry as well as the damped feel from the steel tubing I mentioned earlier. That said, it definitely won't win any sprints. I wouldn't go as far as to say that climbing felt like a chore, but it was noticeably less energetic than the Primo. Instead, it excels at smoothing out the ride and letting you settle into a rhythm. You can pedal for hours without needing to constantly adjust your position or correct your line. There's also differences in what the bike is like to live with day in and day out. Now, the 3T Primo may be a joy to ride fast, but may be overkill and a bit uncomfortable for casual rides or quick errands. The internal cable routing and hydraulic disc brakes are also going to be a lot harder to work on for home mechanics. The Giramondo, on the other hand, is unapologetically simple, but also incredibly versatile. One is a ninja throwing star and the other a Swiss Army knife. Or if that analogy didn't work, one is a high-strung stallion and the other is a mellow, well-trained gelding. Or another way to, yeah, I think you got the point. Hopefully by now, you're starting to get a bit of a better idea as to which bike might be better for you, the gravel race bike or the gravel adventure bike. But if you're still riding the fence, let's talk about 3 hypothetical riders to really drive it home. First up is Alex, a seasoned cyclist who regularly signs up for his local gravel races, but he also likes to use his bike to commute to and from work. Alex is understandably torn between the go-fast energy of the 3T and the utilitarian benefits of the Mozzie. In Alex's case, I'd recommend going with the 3T. Its mounting points are limited, yes, but BikesOnline sells universal frame bags that can Velcro to the frame. This would allow him to easily convert his race bike into a commuter during the week, but with zero compromise come race day. Next is Samantha, an experienced cyclist who is planning a week-long bikepacking trip through the Rockies. She used to race her bike often, but got burnt out and is now looking to expand her horizons, literally. She loves the racy look of the 3T and it reminds her of her glory days, but all of her friends say it'll never work out for a multi-day self-supported outing. Well, I hate to break it to Samantha, but her friends are right. It's probably going to be better to go with function over form, in this case, choosing the Mozzie. The steel frame can take a beating. The triple crankset offers low climbing gears for steep passes, and the mechanical simplicity of the components is a huge plus when repairs need to happen in the field. And finally, we have Jordan, who's actually in the market to find his first bike. Now, Jordan loves the idea of racing and thinks that it could motivate him to spend more time on the bike and get in better shape. At the same time, he also thinks he might like commuting to work on his bike, though he's really never tried it. He's torn and doesn't know what to choose. If I were Jordan, I'd probably err on the side of the Mozzie. Its more relaxed handling will make it easier to get comfortable on. And if you do end up racing down the road, you could make a few component changes to the Giramondo and be good to go. So hopefully this video has helped you to learn a little bit about two very different styles of gravel bikes. We at BikesOnline have several more models that fit in between these models as well. One of these is the Polygon Tambora, a lightweight carbon fiber bike with slightly less extreme geometry and more mounting points than the 3T Primo. Another is the Polygon Path, which you could think of as a slightly more watered down version of the Mazzi Giramondo. So, if you have any other questions about the Mazzi Giramondo, the 3T Primo, gravel bikes in general, or what bike might be best for you, drop a comment below. While you're down there, like and subscribe to BikesOnline channel where I'll be hanging out. And after you've done that, get out there, get your bike, and get ripping.